The operation begins. Idun walks into Tibri, demanding to speak with Fatima, and is taken to see her by some gang members. To his shock, he finds out that Fatima had taken a single Tibri villager with her for insurance, instead of locking them all up in the same place. However, unluckily for Fatima, she happened to choose quite the eccentric victim. The girl, named Shannon, seems to be living in her own fantasy world. Pontificating on her circumstance, Shannon fantasizes at length that her prince, her knight in shining armor, will surely ride in any moment now to rescue her from the clutches of this injustice. Amusingly, seeing Shannon's theatrics in the corner there put both Idun and Fatima at a loss for words. While on the other side, Avin's crew have moved in to do their part, discovering only a minimal guard around where the villagers are kept. Attempting to stall for time, Idun postpones handing the bond of life over, trying to fish some answers out of Fatima. He demands to know what the Shamshir gang plans to do with the book, to which Fatima gives a vague answer, stating that they don't plan to be bandits forever and they have grander designs in mind, but also calls out Idun for stalling and once again demands the book. Meanwhile, Avin's party had successfully freed the hostages only for Shannon's parents to come out, panicking over their daughter being personally abducted by Fatima and pleading for her rescue, cluing the rescue team into the fact that there are still additional hostages out there. On the other side, Fatima, tired of Idun's stalling, commands a goon to knock him out and take the book. The fake book gambit falls apart instantly as Fatima is actually fluent in ancient script, taking no time at all to discover the bond of life as a fake imitation. With now both the rescue team and Idun surrounded by the Shamshir gang, the situation quickly takes a turn for the worse. Though fortunately before any grave harm could come to General Idun, the rest of the royal army began their assault, forcing the Shamshir gang to retreat with Shannon in tow, and the army giving chase. Avin's crew makes a rendezvous with General Idun to inspect his injuries, while the Shamshir gang were able to quickly lose the royal army pursuers in the forests, escaping into the canyons of Tzatziki Cave. Realizing that Shannon is still their hostage, the group rules out the possibility of a full-scale assault, and Avin once again volunteers to take his smaller group and conduct a stealthier takedown of the gang. And much to Idun's protests, Muse once again opts to join Avin in the hunt, using her authority as the first princess to command Idun's men protect the village, while she takes the vanguard. The team of adventurers break into Tzatziki Caves through the canyon path, finding Fatima and her gang holding out at the end of it, still with Shannon as their prisoner. Shannon, on the other hand, has only since ramped up her epic monologue about her knight in shining armor and her impending rescue, claiming that a fortune teller told her that she is destined to meet this mysterious prince today. Her theatrics both amuse and annoy Fatima, who presumably was not able to shut Shannon up for even a second. Fatima snidely tells Shannon that perhaps she should snap out of these fantasies or she'll actually never find a man at this rate. Though the rest of the gang seems to find Shannon's theatrics funny. Fatima is in a more foul mood, having her hostages freed by some adventurers after all the care that went into spreading false leads, and ending up with only a sappy old play as opposed to the genuine Book of Life. With Shannon unintentionally putting up a show, the gang's lookout was distracted by her as opposed to standing guard, allowing Avin's team to break in and get the surprise jump. Fatima is surprised that Avin's team managed to track them down and her henchmen covered her retreat, while engaging the group in a fierce battle, attempting to buy Fatima time to fully remove herself from the area. The henchmen proved to be a tough match, though Avin and crew ultimately prevail over them after a grueling brawl. They unfortunately were not able to apprehend the ringleader herself as a result. One of the goons, not quite down and out, gets up and approaches Shannon, which gets her to immediately panic and flee, only to run into a wall and knock herself out. Though even the gang member is at a loss for words as he hasn't even tried anything yet. Miles swiftly takes him down and checks on Shannon, who wakes up and immediately identifies Mile as her promised prince and white knight, instantly falling heads over heels in love with him, declaring that Mile would be her prince, husband, and the whole 9 yards, something that Mile was woefully unprepared to hear, and instantly giving Avin an infinite supply of material to tease him with. The rest of the group spontaneously decide that they were clearly the third wheel, and opts to leave Mile alone with his new admirer. With Shannon now returned to Tibri Village, the crisis is resolved. Though Fatima remains at large, a significant number of the Shamshir gang are now under custody of the crown, and her plan in this region was at least thwarted. The Tibri villagers offer profuse thanks to both Avin's crew and Princess Mildine, with Shannon offering an extra serving of gratitude specifically for Mile before leaving, much to Avin's amusement. The road to Sage Dinerken is now clear. Though Muse casually attempts again to leave with Avin, General Durga sternly calls her out, followed by practically begging on his knees for Muse to please get back to the palace, and no, he can't just pretend like he didn't see her. Muse relents, giving her thanks to Avin and crew. Though their adventure together wasn't exactly the smoothest ride, she nonetheless considers Avin, Mile, and Marty as her close friends. General Durga likewise commends the adventurers on their exemplary work, as Muse and the royal army part with Avin on an amicable note. Meeting Muse seems to have been a spark of inspiration for Marty, who remarks that up until now he had been so preoccupied with passing the minister's exam that he never really stopped to consider what he was going to do after he does succeed. And meeting someone like Muse, who, despite being of royal birth, is not content with living a life of comfort, but instead actively tries to chase after her own goals and motivations, has taught him a valuable lesson. Reminding both Avin and Mile, as well as himself, that though their travels will likely be long, it is important to not see this journey as just destinations on a checklist, but rather appreciate the colors and vibrancy of the world around them as they go. Wishing Avin and Mile well on their journey to Dinerken and beyond, Marty returns to the Adventurers Guild and back to his duties, promising the two that they will always have a friend in him. Now, finally on their way to their destination, Avin and Mile cross through the serene prayer woods, coming to a large cottage at the end, the abode of the Sage of Wisdom. They enter with his permission, and Avin finally comes face to face with the last of the three sages, Sage Dinerken. He introduces himself as Lemurus' pupil, and Dinerken recognizes him as Avin, since Lemurus had mentioned him in their past correspondence. Dinerken deduces that Avin's presence here must mean that Sage Lemurus had passed, which Avin confirms. They briefly mourn together over his passing. Avin explains that it is Lemurus' final will for Avin to receive his teachings, and presents the Cabeza as promised. Dinerken accepts the Cabeza into his care, and asks Avin what he would like to learn. Avin brings up Eimelle, asking Dinerken if he knows her whereabouts, and what exactly Lemurus meant when he said that the cultists who attacked Cathedral were specifically looking for her. Dinerken replies that while he does not know Eimelle's whereabouts, he does know why the cultists are looking for her. It is because Eimelle had been chosen as Durga's daughter. He tells Avin and Mile of Durga, the goddess who brought forth life, who holds dominion over the four guardian deities, and watcher over the realm of the dead. Though the world of gods and humans are beyond mortal ken, as humanity are incapable of comprehending such a concept. Avin is immediately lost by Dinerken's words, but Mile, being the more astute of the duo, produces an analogy. He likens human existence to a pond of fish, and the gods as the ones observing said pond. Though they share an existence, they are unable to directly interact with each other. Dinerken praises Mile for his precise metaphor and runs with this analogy. Though the gods created the pond of fish, they are unable to directly enter the pond without catastrophic ramifications. They therefore toss pebbles, creating ripples in the pond in the form of miracles, and the daughter of Durga would be akin to this pebble. As the physical representation of Durga, they are capable of evoking miracles in the world. The cultists who attacked Cathedral believe Eimelle to hold this power and will therefore stop at nothing to reach her. Realizing the fate that his sister is destined for, Avin demands to know the identity of this cult and what exactly they plan to do with Eimelle if they find her. But surprisingly, Dinerken declines to answer. He tells Avin that the fate given to Eimelle is ultimately a cruel one, and ordinary people who get too close will surely find themselves caught in this vortex and possibly lose their lives. He reminds Avin that the forces of darkness who are after Eimelle hold unimaginable power, enough to reduce Cathedral to rubble with ease. Recklessly involving himself in this struggle will only result in tragedy. Avin is at a loss for words, unable to produce a counterpoint. Though Eimelle appeals to Dinerken on Avin's behalf, begging him to give Avin a chance to find Eimelle again, Avin waves his friend off. Realizing Dinerken's words ring true and he had been naively underestimating the gravity of the situation, Dinerken apologizes to Avin as this is surely not the outcome he had hoped for, but nonetheless expresses his gratitude for them delivering the cabeza to him and wishes them well. Leaving the abode, Eimelle asks if Avin is really okay with giving up the search for Eimelle. Though Avin has no intention of giving up, he can't refute the points Dinerken had made, and he easily saws through Avin's naivety. The duo agrees to return to Felden for now to collect their thoughts, and return to Dinerken again with cooler heads. On the way back through the prayer woods, Avin and Eimelle are accosted by two strangers, a young black-haired girl and a man with spiky red hair. The girl identifies Avin by name, somehow knowing that he possesses the cabeza, and asks that he gives it to them. Avin and Eimelle obviously refuse, since they both no longer have it and would never just hand it to suspicious individuals even if they still did. The girl is unfazed by this and instead quickly chants high-level black magic, instantly paralyzing and rendering the two unconscious. The red-haired man begins to search Avin and Eimelle but discovers that the cabeza is indeed no longer with them. Acting off the intel provided to them, the girl deduces that since Avin is the pupil of the late Sage Lemurus, who was originally entrusted with the cabeza, he must have dropped it off at the only place near here was the Sage of Wisdom. The pair proceed forward to pay Dinerken a visit, leaving Avin and Eimelle to eventually be discovered by a Tibri villager and taken in for treatment. Avin and Eimelle wake up in Shannon's house, who at this point is beyond convinced fate has ordained that she and Eimelle are meant to be together. Avin and Eimelle recollect the events prior to them being attacked, realizing that if they're after the cabeza, Sage Dinerken may be in danger. They leave Shannon's house, and to keep Shannon from involving herself, Avin promises her that Eimelle will definitely return for dinner with her family after running just a quick errand. Eimelle identifies the girl's magic as paralysis magic, and stops by the general store to stock up on provisions to defend against it for their upcoming encounter. Hastily making their way through the prayer woods again, they arrive at Sage Dinerken's abode, but this time, nobody answered the door. Deciding that the situation is urgent, Avin attempts to break down the door to charge in. Inside, Sage Dinerken is being accosted by the two strangers. The man, who the girl calls Bernard, demands Dinerken hand over the cabeza before he resorts to violence. The girl, however, forbids him from force, insisting that though the sages are their enemy, the Sage of Wisdom should still be worthy of their respect. She does, however, leverages the power of the Cult of Octum against Dinerken, informing him that they can reach very far places, including toward Avin if they so desired, should Dinerken not cooperate. Speaking of the devil, Avin and Eimelle charge in to rescue Dinerken at that moment. Recognizing their assailants from moments ago, Avin immediately draws his weapon and engages in battle against Bernard. Though Bernard is of a larger build, Avin's swordsmanship proved superior in this encounter and he was able to beat Bernard back. The girl tries her paralysis magic again, only to be countered by the medicine they had prepared. Realizing the situation had turned south, the assailants retreat from the scene. Avin tries to pursue, but was called back by Dinerken, fearing an ambush. Once the situation had resolved, Dinerken thanks them and takes Avin and Eimelle to his study for a chat. Avin and Eimelle ask about the cult of Octum that the girl claims to be a member of, what exactly this cult is, and why they're after the Cabeza. Dinerken is at a loss, admitting that he is still hesitant to answer, as this knowledge truly can be a key to disaster. Knowing the full story will mean that Avin and Eimelle will be irrevocably exposed to immense danger. But this time, Avin gave his response. He tells Dinerken that his desire to find Eimelle had been the drive that kept him going forward, and he carries not only the siblings' mutual wish to reunite, but also the pride of the late Sage Lemurus, as well as his close friend that has supported his journey. Admitting his own naivety toward the situation, Avin nonetheless wants to believe in his own strength to embark on this journey. Hearing Avin's resolve, Dinerken praises Avin for his determination, agreeing to tell Avin and Eimelle the full backstory. A long time ago, only light and darkness existed in the world. The god of light, Bardus, and the god of darkness, Octum. Though beings of opposite natures, one could not exist without the other. Their constant opposition resulted in the creation of the earth and the birth of the goddess Durga. With Durga's appearance, life began to form in the world and eventually led to the birth of mankind. Though the birth of mankind had given the world vitality, this was a disturbance to the balance created by Bardus and Octum. Bardus hoped to maintain the world, while Octum saw it as tainted, and therefore must be destroyed and remade. With even Durga powerless to stop this feud, the war between Bardus and Octum raged for a long time, ultimately resulting in Bardus sealing Octum away. But it would be incorrect to call this a victory for Bardus. After sealing Octum, Bardus had exhausted all of its power and cannot maintain its existence. An unsurprising outcome, light and darkness are inseparable concepts after all, like two sides of the same coin. It is said that Bardus then divided its form into 6 pieces, entrusting them to Durga before falling into slumber alongside the sealed Octum. Though this would appear to herald the end of the Age of Gods and bring forth the Age of Humanity, reality was not that simple. Humanity, still in its infancy, is incapable of independent existence. To seek unity and survival, they created 2 separate religions, each worshipping one of the 2 slumbering deities, thus creating the light-worshipping Church of Bardus, as well as the darkness-worshipping cult of Octum. Though Avin is shocked that there are people who will venerate an evil god, Dinerken reminds Avin that Octum simply wishes to destroy what it perceived as a chaotic and tainted world and recreate a new utopia. And in their contemporary world, it cannot be concluded that this course of action can be called incorrect or evil. Though for reasons perhaps only known to the cult, their grand plans require the power of Durga's daughter, hence their incessant search for Eimelle. Dinerken instructs Avin and Eimelle to continue their journey, believing that they will eventually find Eimelle somewhere along the way, and provides their next destination, the holy city of Valked, located in the western half of Alfelden. Since Cathedral's fall, Valked had become the new center of operations for the Church of Bardus. The successor of the late Archbishop Asperius, Archbishop Croar, oversees affairs of the church there. Dinerken returns the Cabeza to Avin, as the Cabeza is the head of Bardus, one of the 6 fragments of its soul originally entrusted to Durga. With its whereabouts having been discovered by the cult, it is no longer safe to keep it here and should be returned to the church. Once Avin reunites with Eimelle, they should seek out Archbishop Croar in Valked and deliver the Cabeza to him, and Croar will be able to guide Avin and Eimelle from there on. Avin and Eimelle thank Dinerken for his teachings. With a new destination in mind, they bid him farewell. Dinerken offers a prayer on their behalf, warning them that their journey ahead may be one submerged in darkness. Having learned the cruel fate that had been assigned to Eimelle, Avin and Eimelle began to gain a glimpse into the overwhelming power of Octum behind the scenes. Determined to locate Eimelle and save her from the followers of the Dark God, they resolve once again to embark on their journey throughout all of Elfelden. With their final destination set, Avin and Eimelle decide to start back at Felden and comb through the major cities along the way. The seaside city of Borun, the forested regions of New Borun, the city of Steel Gia, and the port town of Beloa, before crossing the sea to arrive in the holy city of Valkid. Though, of course, before any of this can happen, Avin gleefully reminds Eimelle that he still owes his newest admirer a dinner at her place in Tibri Village, much to Eimell's dismay. Though Avin finds it fun to tease Eimelle about Shannon's infatuation toward him for now, he's about to quickly learn that the situation is no longer funny, or depending on your point of view, become much funnier. At the doorstep to Shannon's house, Avin and Eimelle are horrified to find that Shannon has been packing her luggage, declaring to her parents that she intends to accompany her destined prince to the ends of the earth after they come back for dinner. Adding on to the horror, Shannon's parents, instead of doing the logical thing of talking down an unarmed 17-year-old girl from traveling the world with a man that just happened to be in the right place at the right time, instead gives her their full approval, as they seem to have taken a liking to Eimelle as well, even encouraging Shannon to get as close to Eimelle as possible. Seeing the situation unfold, Avin and Eimelle back away from Shannon's house in terror, realizing that this one dinner had become the most dangerous situation they faced so far. The two flee from Tibri Village as far as their legs can carry them, speeding back to Felden before they are spotted by anyone that are even remotely acquainted with Shannon ever again. Receiving their rewards from the Adventurers Guild for resolving the situation in Tibri, Avin and Eimelle set out on their journey toward their next destination. Crossing through a beachside road, they soon find themselves in the beautiful seaside city of Borun. As soon as they arrive, Avin and Eimelle are greeted by a group of singing children, rehearsing a song and dance routine. The children explain that they are practicing a musical number for the upcoming Idun festival. Much like how Urt Village has an annual festival worshipping the guardian deity of Earth, Nephthys, it seems that Borun has a similar festival venerating the guardian deity of wind, Idun. Though the city is embroiled in a festive atmosphere, Avin and Eimelle do not intend to stay long, since this city seems to offer no leads on Emil's whereabouts. The pair decide to move on, even if it means unfortunately missing out on the upcoming festival. In the Borun Inn, Avin and Eimelle run into Jimenez again. Having successfully captured his wayward author on the run, Jimenez tells Avin and Eimelle that Karamas' next best-selling novel series is already in the works, tentatively titled Laban the Swift, with Laban being their decided pseudonym for Avin's character. Though Karamas made some solid initial progress, the well of inspiration seems to be drying up again. Sure enough, when they check on Karamas in the next room, whose writing pace has slowed down considerably after his initial burst of inspiration, Avin and Eimelle happily provide him with a summary of their adventures thus far, seemingly reigniting his spark of creativity. With seemingly nothing more to gain by staying in Borun, Avin and Eimelle head out toward their next destination, New Borun. Though just shortly after setting out, Eimelle stops, feeling a sudden sting in his neck, and then collapses, much to Avin's shock, though he follows suit right after as they both fall unconscious on the road. A Shamshir gang bandit reveals himself from behind a tree holding a blowpipe. As both the sleeping darts hit home, the bandits now had two new victims to plunder to their heart's desire, and they do just that before fleeing the scene. Avin and Eimelle wake up a bit later in the Borun Inn, confused about what had just happened to them. A blue-haired man enters as the person who found them unconscious on the road and took them in. He introduces himself as Douglas, a famed adventurer widely known by the title of Swift Lightning Douglas. He tells Avin and Eimelle that they've likely fallen prey to sleeping darts, as it's been a common problem recently. The bandits have been robbing many people along the roads of Borun. Hearing this, Avin and Eimelle quickly check their belongings. Though they still had their wallet, Avin is distressed to find the cabeza missing, and Eimelle had lost the guardian bell given to him by his father. Douglas sympathizes with the two, explaining that he himself was also a victim to the same group, having been robbed of the powerful Thunderblade, a sword entrusted to him by his late mentor. Douglas tells the two that he has accepted a commission from the guild to track the thieves down and put them down once and for all. Avin and Eimelle volunteer to come along, which came as a shock to Douglas, not expecting the two to also be adventurers on account of their young age, but he acquiesces and they move out. Before they set off, Douglas tells Avin and Eimelle to greet the person next door, the world-renowned traveling doctor, Dr. Bandel, who was also responsible for treating the two. When they head over, however, they were surprised to find that Dr. Bandel, a rather masculine name, is in fact a woman. She introduces herself as Dr. Bandel II, having inherited her name, title, and skill set from her late father. She gives the group some medicine and wishes them well, hoping to meet again later should their paths cross again. Douglas takes Avin and Eimelle to the local Adventurers Guild branch office. Word of their exploits in Tibri Village had already spread far and wide, and the guildmaster is more than happy to dispatch the three on the task. The crew is informed that the bandits' hideout had been discovered. They're hiding in the nearby Tokus cave, southwest of Borun. With their provisions stocked and the target located, Avin and crew make for the abandoned cave. As the senior adventurer with much more experience under his belt, the trip to Tokus cave is a breeze thanks to Douglas's prowess in battle, able to clear past monsters with blazing speed. The crew makes it into Tokus cave and start their search, looking for traces of the bandits. The search takes them to the end of the cave, where the ever-so-familiar sound of Miles' guardian bell echoed in the tunnels. They find the Shamshir gang members admiring their latest haul, gloating about their successful heist, especially after successfully seizing the cabeza, something that Fatima is also apparently after. Avin and crew charge in and confront the bandits, identifying them as the remnant members of the Shamshir gang, which had evaded arrest due to not being a part of the Tibri Village operation. A fight breaks out as Avin's group moves to subdue the bandits and recover all the stolen goods. With Douglas's help, the three of them were able to overcome the gang members with ease. After the fight, they question the Shamshir gang members and find the stash of their stolen goods in the back. Searching through the bandits' ill-gotten gains, the crew were able to quickly recover Avin's cabeza and Miles' guardian bell. Douglas, however, digs through the rest of the horde with increasing distress, discovering that his Thunderblade is nowhere to be found. Avin and Eimelle look on as a panicking Douglas sprints back to the bandits, forcefully shaking one of them awake and demanding to know where his sword is. The shaken bandit gloats in Douglas's face and tells him that the, quote, ugly, weirdly shaped sword was sold a short while ago to a merchant called Garcia. Though the name is unfamiliar to Avin and Douglas, Eimelle recalls hearing of the man back in Felden. He's reportedly a dirty merchant with certain ties and known sales made to many underground black markets. With the sword having passed through Garcia's hands, it could sadly be anywhere by now. And infuriated Douglas knocks the bandit out cold again, and after bidding a hasty farewell to Avin and Eimelle, speeds off to try and track down his
Having inherited Caster's legacy as his most skilled disciple, Douglas is a very capable and popular adventurer in the guild, and as a result, takes on a lot of work.
With Douglas having left the bandits to Avin and Eimelle's care, the two turned the gang in and collected their rewards, learning more about Douglas from the Borun Guildmaster in the meantime.
The Guildmaster tells them that Douglas is the student of the late Sword Saint Castor, the strongest swordsman in all of Elfelden, whose skill in battle could only be matched by the likes of the Sage of Strength, Gawain. Having inherited Castor's legacy as his most skilled disciple, Douglas is a very capable and popular adventurer in the guild, and as a result, takes on a lot of work.
Their conversation was then interrupted by Doyle, the mayor of Borun, coming in to personally meet and thank the adventurers that had taken care of the bandits. Just like everyone else they met so far, Doyo is initially shocked that two exceptionally young adults were the ones behind the arrest, but overcomes it and thanks them for their efforts. Doyo quickly takes a liking to Avin and formally asks if he would like to represent Borun in the closing event of the upcoming Idun festival. Confused about the sudden offer, Avin and Eimelle ask for more information. Mayor Doyo explains that the Idun festival always ends with a wrestling match on a wooden platform above the water. For this competition, the cities of Borun and New Borun each nominate a contestant of their choosing, and the winner of this contest is said to bring Idun's favor to the winning city. As Borun this year is strapped for a viable contestant, Mayor Doyo was originally going to submit a request to the Adventurers Guild for a potential applicant, but has now turned his offer to Avin. Avin's surprised at the sudden request and is reluctant to accept, but Eimelle takes him aside and talks it over, suggesting that joining the event is not necessarily a bad thing, and if he wins, then his name will surely gain more popularity and perhaps even make his way to a meal somewhere. Understanding this possibility, Avin decides to take up Mayor Doyo's offer, much to his delight. Doyo offers to cover all of the food and lodging expenses for Avin and Eimelle and tells them to spend the next few days to their heart's content in the city, an offer the two gladly accept as they immediately head to the pub for some now free lunch. At the inn, the two came face to face with some familiar faces. The arguing couple back in Filden City seems to have more than made amends and have traveled all the way to Borun to enjoy the upcoming Idun festival. The husband takes Eimelle aside, quietly thanking him for the flower delivery that bailed him out, and slips Eimelle some money as thanks. The two head into the pub and order some food, finally unwinding at the table. Avin expresses his disbelief that he somehow found himself signed up for a wrestling match, with Eimell's encouragement no less. Eimelle initially teases Avin with some reassurance that he'll be fine and the representative from New Borun certainly won't snap him in half and toss him in the water, but also tells Avin that he did really want him to join the contest for personal reasons as well, noting that since speaking to Dinerken, Avin's mind had been preoccupied with searching for a meal, but it's important for Avin to remember that a journey is not about the destination, and being a part of events like these are just as important as the goal. Their conversation is interrupted by a blue-haired boy approaching them and introduces himself as Rouca, an intern working at the City of Steel Gia. He asks Avin and Eimelle if either of them had seen his older sister, a question that really struck a chord with Avin. They invite Rouca to lunch and hear his story. Rouca once lived with his older sister, a girl named Rutis, in a remote village with their parents. Their once happy lives were shattered in a large monster attack incident 5 years ago, where both of their parents lost their lives, leaving both Rutis and Rouca to wander the continent as orphans, struggling to survive on the streets. They eventually made their way to Gia and were fortunate enough to find kind-hearted people that gave them shelter. Though just as Rouca thought their life would once again be peaceful, Rutis suddenly left one night, leaving behind only a note for Rouca with a single line written on it: "Please live happily." Unable to accept that his sister would leave behind such a note and just leave, Rouca became determined to find her. As he is now an apprentice engineer working in Gia, he spends all of his vacation time traveling to nearby cities, asking anyone he can find if they have seen any traces of Rutis. Rouca describes his sister as having black hair and eyes, but no one he's talked to has ever seen a girl matching that description. Finding a kindred spirit in Rouca, Avin resolves to help him find Rutis no matter what. After the three enjoy a nice group lunch, they split off and ask around town, looking for any clues on Rutis' whereabouts. Predictably, however, just about everyone in Borun don't recall seeing a girl with black eyes and hair. The bartender muses about a black-haired girl who was in the company of a man with spiky red hair who stayed in the inn briefly and only asked about directions towards Filden. Though Avin dismisses this as a possible lead, as Rouca should be traveling alone given Rouca's story about her. However, the bartender's description of the two people did feel eerily familiar. With all leads exhausted, Avin decides to try his luck with Mayor Doyle. Though on his way there, he overhears a heated argument about the ownership of a prize and catches a glimpse of a furious Douglas storming away from the city. Though he's confused by that interaction, his thoughts are interrupted by Mile, who turned up similarly empty-handed, and they decide to consult the mayor together, who unfortunately also knows nothing, not just about Rouca but also about Emile. Doyle offers his sincere apology for being unable to help, while Avin and Mile decide to regroup as Rouca back at the pub. The three of them can only conclude that Rouca is definitely not in Borun, but their search quickly runs dry on actionable leads. Rouca tells Avin that today is actually the last day of his vacation and he's due to return to Gia tomorrow. Even though his foray in Borun was ultimately fruitless, Rouca isn't dejected and remains determined to one day reunite with his sister. Avin and Mile cheer on Rouca's can-do attitude as the three say goodbye for now. Rouca expresses his regret that he will miss Avin's showing in the Idun Festival wrestling match, but asks them to come and visit whenever they do make their way to Gia, parting ways with his two new friends for now. For the next 3 days, Avin, with Miles' support, trained relentlessly for the upcoming wrestling match. Though still feeling some trepidation at the circumstance he found himself in, the day of the match has swiftly arrived, and with it, the butterflies in Avin's stomach stir anew. Though Mile continues to pep up his friend, reminding Avin that his balanced style gives him an edge. He can either overpower an opponent who is faster than him, or outmaneuver an opponent stronger than him, and that he'll definitely be fine no matter who New Borun throws at him. As the official comes in to retrieve Avin for the event, the two arrive on the docks to what is perhaps Avin's worst case scenario. Standing before him, the nominee from New Borun for this tournament was none other than Douglas. Though he seemed to be in a very disturbed mood, a far cry from the friendly and affable adventurer that worked with Avin and Mile just days ago. An unamused Douglas simply tells Avin that even though they're on good terms, he won't be holding back at all and enters the arena. Avin, realizing that he's completely screwed, sarcastically asks Mile what the game plan is if his opponent is both stronger and faster than he is. Though Mile is clearly a lot less confident in Avin's chances all of a sudden, he tells Avin to just hold on and maybe a window will somehow present itself, a statement that certainly did not inspire confidence. Out on the docks, as the Idun festival draws to a close following a spirited performance by the children, the wrestling event is held to close out yet another successful and rowdy celebration. The officials introduce Avin and Douglas to the crowd, announcing the formal rules: a clean wrestling match with no time limit, and only ends when one party falls into the water, leaving the victor standing. The bridge retracts and the match begins. Douglas catches Avin off guard and gets a clean opening hit, as Avin's only recourse is to try his best and evade. Fully knowing that he is no match for Douglas in a straight-up fight, Avin opts out of fighting and starts running away, rapidly devolving the wrestling match into a clown show game of tag. Douglas eventually corners Avin and grapples him, forcing him into the fight. With his superior strength, Avin finds himself swiftly overpowered, inching ever closer to the edge of the water. But just as Douglas mustered himself for one final push to secure the victory, the platform below him cracks open, sending him tumbling into the water, leaving a stunned Avin looking on as the realization that he had won the match through sheer dumb luck slowly came over him. As the match draws to a close, Douglas crawls out of the water, shivering and sputtering, but also uncharacteristically distraught over his loss. As the two mayors discuss this unlikely victory from Avin, they announce that he is officially recognized as the winner, chalking the incident of the broken floor up to the will of Idun itself. As Eimelle drags Avin onto the stage to accept his reward, a large, unwieldy sword of extraordinary caliber, Douglas watches on, silently asking Avin to take good care of the treasure blade housing the departed soul of the Sword Saint, wordlessly leaving Borun. Mayor Doyle treats Avin and Eimelle to a celebration meal, congratulating Avin on his win. As they dine together, Avin and Eimelle take time to admire the blade that they had just won, a magnificent sword gleaming with an azure light. Doyle remarks offhandedly that he was able to purchase this sword from a salesman just in time for the event, as he was otherwise strapped for a good reward, and Douglas tried to take the sword away from Doyle, as he insisted it belonged to him. Avin and Eimelle instantly puts two and two together, realizing the blade in their hands is Douglas's treasured Thunderblade, inherited from his late master. They hurriedly excuse themselves from the meal and run out into the streets, looking for any signs of Douglas. Avin curses him for being so willing to relinquish his master's legacy over a silly competition, but despite their efforts, it's clear that Douglas had long since left Borun. Avin and Eimelle deduce that he must have headed to New Borun. With their business in Borun done anyway, the two embark on their journey anew and make their way toward their next destination in pursuit of Douglas.